بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وسبحان الله العلي العظيم، والحمد لله رب العالمين. نحمده ونستعيذه ونستجيره ونتوب إليه. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على الحبيب المصطفى محمد المرسل رحمة للعالمين، خاتم الأنبياء والرسل أجمعين، وعلى آله الأطهار الميامين، وعلى أصحابه المختارين، وعلى من اتبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم يا علي عظيم، اللهم إنا نبتهل إليك وندعوك ونسألك أن تقسم لنا من خشيتك ما يحول بيننا وبين معاصيك، وأن تقسم لنا من رحمتك ما يقربنا من طاعتك، ونسألك يا رب العالمين أن ترزقنا من اليقين ما يهون علينا مصائب الدنيا وأحداثها. الحمد لله الحمد لله. The expression of gratitude for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and so much of what disciplines the soul of a human being, the human being's relationship with this core value, the simple but yet always demanding value of gratitude. Gratitude is the simple recognition by a human being that they are not an independent force in nature, but everything about a human being is contingent upon everything else in creation. And thus, in gratitude, a human being is always mindful of what is owed to everyone else and to everything else. And supreme over everyone else and everything else is the Almighty, the owner of this universe, the creator, the planner, the very purpose behind this creation. The art of gratitude. In a moment, we are grateful for the fact that at this time, in this place, we are able to enjoy our health and stand on our own 2 feet and speak without the encumbrance of pain or the encumbrance of physical ailment. And gratitude is to enjoy it while being ever mindful of the fact that at a time like this, in a place like this, whether the year that follows or the year that follows that or any other year, that it can be taken away. And so, while we enjoy it, simultaneously, we are forming a bank of gratitude. This bank of gratitude is so that we can withdraw from that bank when times change and the health that we once enjoyed has dissipated, so that we can meet the challenge that comes with patience and forbearance and strength. The art of gratitude is to fully enjoy the moment while strengthening oneself for the challenge of deprivation that might come when it comes. But the art of gratitude, at the same time, that you enjoy what you enjoy, and that you form your bank of gratitude, and you build up your strength. You are ever mindful of the numerous others at the same moment and at the same place who do not have what you have and do not enjoy what you enjoy. And so you are very mindful of the fact that there are others that cannot partake and cannot enjoy. And you turn towards this universe and you say, I know this is not happenstance. This is not an accident. This is a carefully measured world that has an owner and has a planner, has a supreme being that is responsible for giving and responsible for taking away. We are grateful for the ability that we can enjoy a meal or enjoy meals. As we enjoy food, delight in good taste and in good company, we are mindful that there will come a time that we might not be able to enjoy food the way we enjoy it today, in this moment, in this place. And so we build our bank of patience and endurance. So when the challenge comes, we are able to withstand it with power and forbearance and understanding. And as we enjoy the food that we enjoy, we are mindful of the millions others who cannot enjoy what we have just enjoyed. The millions others that, whether for health reasons or for reasons of economic deprivation, are denied the simple joy of filling their stomachs, of savoring the taste of food as we have savored and we have enjoyed. Gratitude is to look around and see the family that keeps you company, the family that you were able to reunite with in this time, in this place, to look at the good relations with good friends that you are able to reunite with, to enjoy their company, to understand that but for the grace of God, families are unable to reunite, and friends are unable to come together. And but for the grace of God, the devil, Satan, is capable of driving all type of divisions between family and friends. And to realize the extent to which it is a blessing that you can enjoy the company of family and enjoy the company of friends. And to be ever mindful of how vulnerable this enjoyment is. But for God's will, but for the grace of God, the family that you have this year, tomorrow could be very different. The friends that you have this year, tomorrow could be very different. So you build your bank of forbearance and strength. in anticipation of the time of deprivation. So when that time comes, you are strong and you don't despair and you don't become bitter. The art of gratitude is to enjoy the moment and realize how precious that moment is, and at the same time be ever mindful of all the others that have family that they cannot reunite with and have loved ones that they cannot be with. It is never to allow the intoxications of enjoyment to make you forget others, and never allow the intoxications of enjoyment to take the moments for granted, or the relationships for granted, or the mechanics of time that allow you to come together for granted. To be mindful that the universe had to rotate and events had to come forth in just the right way, in just the right order, in just the right steps, so that Allah could allow you to enjoy the moment that you enjoy, at the time you enjoy it, at the place that you enjoy it. All it takes is something very minor for you to be denied the pleasure of the company of a relative or the company of a loved one. All it takes for Allah to remove Allah's protections so that the devil can come and sow divisions and ill will and ill feelings. And you never allow yourself to enjoy without thinking of the numberless others who cannot enjoy what you enjoy at this moment, in this place. The art of gratitude. To be mindful of the fact that in this season, you had a roof over your head. You had a home. So many others, that simple reliance, the things that we take for granted all the time, that by nighttime we will sleep in a home and wake up in a home, and the next day expect that we will have a home. So many others are denied that simple and straightforward pleasure. It is remarkable that the biggest challenge to the egoism of a human being and the egotistic nature of the human being that moves from habit to entitlement. Just because you became accustomed to a paycheck, just because you became accustomed to a profession, just because you became accustomed to being able to consume food and rely on not experiencing hunger, just because you became accustomed to the friends that you enjoy day after day, or the family that you enjoy day after day, or the intelligence that you employ day after day, or the memory that you rely upon day after day, or the dexterity that you rely upon day after day, all of that is habit. But the nature of the egotistical human being is that habit becomes entitlement. And when you experience the feelings of entitlement, you very quickly forget to build your bank of gratitude. And you very quickly forget the importance of forbearance, of patience, so that you are able to wither away the challenging times that inevitably will come in life. And the problem with entitlement is that you then fall in a new habit, the habit of enjoying without thinking of the deprivation that others experience. So often, after I've had an evening where I have enjoyed the blessings of stability, safety, and security, as I notice or as I wonder about what if I didn't have this home? How would it feel to be out in the elements? How would it feel if I was worried that tomorrow my home would be foreclosed on, or that I would lose the roof upon my head? So often, after I enjoy the pleasure of the company of friends and loved ones and family, and I find myself content, and I fear that I will slip into entitlement, I very starkly and harshly remind myself of the others that are so easily forgotten. I immediately look up, for instance, a 16-year-old, Ahmed Amjad Shihata, a 16-year-old in Nablus, shot by Israeli forces through the heart. Israeli forces shot him through the heart and killed him, and shot 4 more that were wounded in critical condition. And I think of Ahmed Amjad Shahata's family, and I think how the loss of their 16-year-old has robbed them of all sense of security and safety. And I think of how the death of their 16-year-old has robbed them of any ability to enjoy any meal, and has turned their social events into sorrow and misery. And I think of the fact that this family can look at this world and know that there is no justice for their child. Know that those who are responsible for the killing of their 16-year-old will not be held responsible. And know that because they're Palestinian, that the world doesn't care. Not even their fellow Muslims, not even their fellow Arabs. No one cares. I think of the fact that we live in a world where the High Commissioner for Human Rights, who raised the issue of the murder of Palestinian children at will by Israeli forces, who reminded the world that as Arab countries cater to appease Israel, and as Muslims in the West cater to appease Israel, that Israel is indeed an apartheid state, and that Israel does indeed treat Palestinians as subhuman and in racist, deeply racist anchored policies. This commissioner, High Commissioner of Human Rights, was maligned, slandered, accused of being an anti-Semite. So much so that it has become an international incident in the world of international organizations and international politics. The High Commissioner demanded an investigation of those who launched a smear campaign to accuse a High Commissioner of Human Rights of being an anti-Semite and a Jew hater simply because she is speaking for those who have no voice, is a deeply ingrained hypocrisy in the soul of the world. And I think of this commissioner who's not a Muslim and not an Arab, of the isolation and the loneliness and the hurt as she looks around and sees there are no Muslims who she can count on. There are no Arabs that she can count on. That Muslims are too preoccupied with the mundane and trivial and marginal. I think of Ahmad Shahada's family. And I think of the family of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. And I allow the reality of the suffering of fellow human beings, of fellow Muslims, to temper my sense of entitlement, to temper my sense of enjoyment, so that I can fully understand truly what a blessing it is that Allah has allowed me to enjoy the moments that I enjoy in life. And that this is truly, truly a gift from Allah, not an entitlement, not a right, not something that I'm entitled to rely upon or expect. This is truly a gift that Allah has allowed family to be well enough, to be mobile enough, to be stable enough, so we could come together, so we can have a meal together. That Allah has allowed friends the same blessings of stability and mobility and sufficient independence. It's truly a gift. And the art of gratitude is to realize the extent to which every second of enjoyment is truly a gift. Truly a gift. Build your bank of strength and fortitude and forbearance so that you can wither away the challenging moments when they come. And commit yourself to the discipline that every time you indulge in enjoyment, you think of all the others that simply wish they could be in your place, that they could enjoy what you've just enjoyed, to fight off and to resist the sense of entitlement that creates the destructive egoism of human beings in this life. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم واسأل الله يستجب لكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين وسبحان الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اتبعوا بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Among the things we often repeat in khutbahs, you hear this from imams everywhere, is something that the Prophet ﷺ used to say, Alhamdulillah ala ni'mat al-Islam. I thank Allah for the blessing of Islam. The fact that Allah guided you so that you are a Muslim. But the blessing of Islam is a blessing of salam and rahmah. The blessing of Islam is the blessing of peace and tranquility and mercy. There are so many things to say about that expression. I thank Allah for the blessing of Islam. But there is one element that I want to focus on. An element that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded us in His book, in His revelation. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن كثيرا من الأحبار والرهبان لا يأكلون أموال الناس بالباطل ويصدون عن سبيل الله ويصدون عن سبيل الله. You cannot in any way be truly grateful for the blessing of Islam unless being a Muslim, by being a Muslim, in being a Muslim, you become the embodiment of the ideals of Islam. You become the embodiment of what it means to say that Islam is peace and rahmah and mercy. Put differently, as Allah warns us in Surah At-Tawbah, that many of those who claim to represent the divine and to speak for the divine, what indeed they do is that they repulse people. Instead of attracting people to the divine, they in fact do the opposite. They repel people by being poor examples of what a person who is committed to the divine is like. There is no way that gratitude for being a Muslim can bear any meaning if you, as a Muslim, you do not embody what is so attractive about being a Muslim. What is now, and I'll give you just one example, unfortunately, an all too common example. It has become so redundant and truly so horrific. How many times have you heard the following scenario? A Muslim meets a non-Muslim woman, marries the non-Muslim woman. That non-Muslim woman converts to Islam because of this marriage. But instead of becoming a living example of what beauty is embodied in Islam, in the Islamic faith, suddenly this Muslim becomes a living embodiment of all the abuses that a religious faith can put forward. So often, and so many examples of Muslim men who marry a convert, and after marrying the convert, become authoritarian, misogynistic, patriarchal. They start citing to the woman that they married what they deem or what they claim is evidence that the woman has to be subservient, obedient, mindless, without personality, without will, without character. And they represent this authoritarian personality type as the divine will and what Allah wants. Any embodiment of Islamism that repels people, that disgusts and terrifies people, whether it is the type of Islam that denies women an education with the Taliban, or the type of Islam that executes people, up to 80 people in one day in Saudi, or the type of Islam that celebrates and sacralizes authoritarianism and despotism and silence before injustice, or the type of Islam that is thoroughly patriarchal, that tells women just because they were created women, that they, despite their intellect, their right to personality, their right to character, that they are subservient to men and subservient to their husbands, and that somehow Allah gave them an intellect and a personality, but Allah expects them to fold this personality and this intellect in subservience, to fold and subjugate that personality and intellect to their male companion, their husband. يصدون عن سبيل الله. It is the height of ingratitude for the blessing of the Islamic faith to, in fact, become the type of representation that repels people away from the faith. The only way that you can be truly grateful for the blessing of Islam is to commit yourself to investigating, finding, discovering, and embodying beauty through Islam. In a simple word, al-ihsan. Al-ihsan fi kulli shay' wa fi kulli mawqif. Ihsan in every place and in every situation. What Allah expects from you, if you are truly grateful for this faith, is that you become a muhsin as a Muslim. And a muhsin is someone that goes beyond the boundaries of normalcy to achieve actual beauty. Actual beauty. Beauty in everything. Beauty in the way you treat your friends, beauty in the way you treat your co-workers, beauty in the way you treat your neighbors, beauty in the way you treat your children, beauty in the way you treat your spouse. That is Islam. And that is truly alhamd, or gratitude for Islam. When Allah warned us about priests and rabbis that scare people away from the path of God, Allah wasn't telling us a story about the other. Allah was warning us about following in the same path. And I ask you in all honesty, how many imams in the world that we live in today, how many imams truly invite to the path of God in ihsan, in beauty and perfection, instead of being agents that repel away from the path of God? Nothing remains of faith. Nothing remains of faith if you don't commit yourself to the art of gratitude, the art of alhamd. Every relationship that truly exists with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is an extension of understanding what gratitude is. There are many people who say they believe, but they don't understand what gratitude is about. They don't feel it. They don't live it. They don't experience it. And that is the simple core, the pulsing heart of faith. Simple gratitude. اللهم اعف عنا اللهم اغفر لنا اللهم ارحمنا اللهم اهدنا يا رب العالمين. Allah forgive our sins. Allah grant us the straight path, the path of alhamd, the path of gratitude, of true and real and authentic relationship of gratitude. Allah grant us the path of ihsan, the path of beauty that invites to your path and does not repel away from your path. Ya Rabbal Alameen. وصلي وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأقم الصلاة.